Okay, let's get back then to objection handling, all right? Okay, so we had started on price techniques last time. Just a quick recap. Every time you're going to be facing an objection from any client, you never answer it immediately. I need to use a neutralizer first. I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you for sharing that with me. I can see why you feel this way. So you can use generic neutralizers or you will use specific neutralizers. Specific neutralizers, very simple. You pick that one objection the client has raised and use exactly the opposite statement. Markets are down right now. Ahmed, it's important that markets are good for you to make money. So you don't even have to be smart about it, right? Projects are delayed in Dubai. It's important, or on-time completion is important to make money. It's as simple as that. I think this developer does not have a good reputation in the market. A good reputation is important for your capital appreciation. Just go exactly the opposite. So what is he's sitting in one space? You shift him. Even if he doesn't come all the way to the positive, he'll move from negative to neutral, which is a better space to say. So always use a neutralizer. After you use the neutralizer, I need to lock him in. I have to check whether this is a genuine objection or it's a smoke screen. Plus, I want to put the lock in there because the lock allows me to come later with the trial close, right? Is that the only thing stopping you from going ahead? There's only the yes or no, so it will uncover the real objection, or he will say, yes, this is what is stopping me. Now, because of that lock, if I handle the objection correctly, I can actually get in with a closing question. Because I've asked, is that the only concern you have? Or is that the only thing stopping you? Well, yeah, that's what's stopping me. Answer the objection, simply say, does that answer your question satisfactorily? Well, yeah, that answers my question. Well, in that case, why don't we finish the paperwork on this? So explain so it permits you to come in with a close. And you can say it with confidence. Why? He confirmed that that's the only concern I have with regards to this. Then he confirms again, yes, you've answered the question satisfactorily. Why would you not go with a close? So he actually sets himself up for that. That was the structure. Now, when you look at the objection handling techniques, we have started with price objection handling techniques. Some of the techniques are universal. We looked at the feel, felt, found, right? I know how you feel. Some of my best clients initially felt the same. Here's what they found. Come with your answer. Very easy technique to use, okay? Very powerful, but it works. People don't even realize what you're doing. The second was the 1, 2, 3 benefits, because in the minds of clients, 1, 2, and 3 are just too much to compare and evaluate, particularly if you're ending with a question or a statement, because the mind moves along with that. But you have to have 3 nice positive statements to use. It will change depending on whichever project you're presenting, but when you are presenting the project as a solution, you have USPs, correct? Just take 3 of the USPs from there and you bring them back into the answer. Don't create additional ones, because the USPs that you presented as part of the solution is your reason for saying why this product takes care of his need. So bring the same things into the 1, 2, 3 benefit. So you're reinforcing why this is a good solution, right? So you'll simply have a good neutralizer. I understand. I'm glad you brought that up. The reason people invest with us is because our communities provide 1, 2, and 3. See what I mean? Makes sense? End with a question, or you will simply go with a statement. Ahmed, when you invest with us, you don't just save on price, you earn in value. How would you like to go ahead? That's all you got to do, okay? That was the 1, 2, 3. Now, let's continue from there. We use again the pattern of 3, but in a slightly different way. The concept here is, of the 3, you can have only 2. So you'll have to pick 2 and you'll have to give up on 1. So it's the typical, it's known as a quality, performance, and price, okay, technique. Now, just by looking at this, without even seeing the technique, if I'm an investor, of these 3, which is the one I will probably sacrifice on? We can debate this. Will you sacrifice on quality? Because quality impacts your returns, right? As well as the rental prices. Will you sacrifice on performance in the community or the tower? No. So what are you left with? There you go. So that is what you're going to do to handle the price objection, where you have to show that the price impacts both the performance of the product as well as the quality of the product. Ever seen an ad for Lamborghini? Anywhere? It's the performance that has made the statement. It's as simple as that. Ever seen someone walking into a Lamborghini showroom and asking, why is your car so expensive? Or forget a Lamborghini, go even to a BMW, okay, which is way below on scale, right? Ever seen anybody walk into a BMW showroom and say your price is too high? Because the car has left its legacy on performance and perception. So that is what you want to bring into the question here. If you want a product that will perform well, that has great quality and has the lowest price, you need to wake up. It's just not going to happen, all right? That is the example I also use is an aeroplane. You got economy, you got business class, and you got first class. What you're asking me for is the first class experience, but you want to pay economy for that. Would it happen? It's as simple as that. It's just bringing that into the conversation, okay? So use a neutralizer, okay? In this case, we are saying, Ahmed, I agree that you should get value for your investment. I'm not agreeing that the price is high. I'm agreeing that you should get value. Okay, that's a very different statement from agreeing that the price is high, okay? Then say this, from our experience, of the three, the highest long-term ROI or highest ROI, premium quality, and the cheapest price, you can only have two. Which ones are really important for you? Okay? Bring these three in. Now, there's a reason we frame it like this also. In everything in sales, you work with the mind. It's as simple as that. Any technique that you are using, don't just use the technique. Understand why the technique works. It will give you more confidence when you use the technique. Okay? Now, when a client comes and tells you, I have only 2 million, he probably has 30 million in the bank. No one comes and puts all their cash in one opportunity. No one. Okay? So I know that he has the money. However, in real estate, I make money by buying low and selling high. So that is the reason why many of them will come and they will negotiate downwards. It is not because they cannot pay, but they will negotiate saying it's too much. It's expensive. The guy next door has his price is 1450 a square foot. You're going at 1800 a square foot. What is he trying to do? He's trying to tell you, I cannot pay for this. It's too much. The reality, he's got 20 times the money. So on that confidence, you come into the technique that the guy has the money. He can afford this, okay? But what he does not want to afford is bad performance and bad quality. I don't want that. I cannot afford that because my investment will not give me the return. So you'll come in and simply say, first agree, you should get value for your investment. Now, how are we justifying the statement? The highest returns, the premium quality, that's what justifies the price. Okay? Let me give you a very drastic example. Okay, let's say you're having office meeting, there was some traffic on the road, accident, something, you're late. So, meeting is going to start. Anika is asking, where is this guy? All right? Well, people are all messaging him. Where are you? Meeting starts. She's asked twice already about you. What's happening? Oh, I'm coming. So you park the car, you come running up the stairs. You don't even want to wait for the elevator. So you run up and you come to the back of the room. Now, as you're sitting down, you start to breathe heavily. That happens when you run upstairs, yeah? And usually when you're not healthy enough. So you realize you're sitting, meeting is going on, but it's taking you a long time to catch your breath. So you decide, let me go and do a checkup. You go and meet a doctor. He does a few tests on you. He says, I need you to come back after 2 days. I have to do one more test before I can be sure. So you go back in, you do one more test, and then he tells you, sit down. He said, when I look at these charts, I can see that you are heading for a stroke or a heart attack within the next 6 months. Now, you got blocks in your chest. I can see it, okay? There is one is a small one. We can definitely break that up and dismiss it through medicines. The other one needs an operation. If you don't do the operation, between 3 to 6 months, depending on your lifestyle, you're going to be on a hospital bed. Now, you got two choices to do the operation. You can go to American hospital, but they will charge you a bomb, okay? It'll cost you an arm and a leg to save your heart. That's how they'll charge you. Or your friends tell you, by the way, there is this guy in Barsha, he runs a garage during the daytime. Okay, so he repairs cars. But in the night time, he just moves all the tools off. He puts some disinfectant on the table. He also performs heart operations. Where would you go? Okay. But if you don't have, then you're in a no choice situation, right? But our clients are not in a no choice situation. So if you have the money, where would you go? To Barsha or to American Hospital? Why? He's doing the operation as well. He's curing people. Are you crazy? Why would you spend so much money? So, when the need is critical enough, you're willing to pay the cash? That's all you have to do in selling. Okay, people have the money, but when the need is not seen as being important enough, they will not do it. It's as simple as that. So your job is to grow the need. That is another reason why when you are qualifying clients, never rush the process. The longer you can keep the client in the qualification stage, the more he is thinking about what he needs. And that is always going to help you later when you present your solution. So never rush the qualifying, okay? I've seen salespeople generally do that. You'll find out what he's looking for, how much he's willing to pay, and you're already identifying the solutions. Wait, go through the whole process. The client is not going to get up and walk away because you're qualifying, right? But you can miss things so that later when you provide the solution, he's not very excited about it, or he's got something to complain about, right? So you don't want to do that. So we know that they have the money, but what you got to do is you got to bring into the picture what really matters. So simply bring it. For an investor, the highest ROI, premium quality is important. Why? Capital appreciation goes up, rental demand is higher when the quality is good, because people want to come home to peace of mind. When a client actually moves on for whatever reason, they bought their own home, moving to another community, the downtime is critical for me. Because in downtime, I make zero money. So I need the unit to be able to get rented faster so that I can continue to make money quickly. So communities that are popular, communities that have good quality lifestyles, very good community management services, all of those are the communities that attract people more. So which is the reason why you use this pattern of 3. Of the 3, you can only have 2. Which ones are really important for you? That's the way to do it, okay? Another way is, which ones would you like to benefit from? Go that route. Pattern of 3. Now, this is a generic statement. You can take 2 of the strongest USPs in that product which you are offering him as the solution. Okay, because for him, if it is very, very important, maybe he has a child with special needs. There is a school that takes care of these kind of kids, so he's looking for something close to that. That becomes a strong reason for a person to buy, right? So I will bring that as one of the 3, because I know the dominant buying reason. So it doesn't only have to be high ROI and premium quality. It will be based on the need of the client. You'll bring the 2 that would be the best selling points for that home, and then you attach the price to that. But you use the price because these are price handling objections. Nobody will ever come and tell you, perfect, I'll come to you. No one will say, perfect, I'll take it. They will always negotiate. In fact, you drop your prices by 20% and you start, they'll negotiate from there downwards. So you might as well keep it where it is. And secondly, you know the value of your product, you will not drop the price. Because if you drop the price, you have actually confirmed, you know what, it is overpriced. That's the unspoken statement that you give out there, okay? So you should not do that. Secondly, you as brokers, remember, this is a psychological thing, and you can debate it with me. What I have seen, particularly in the Dubai market, is that the brokers, in their mind, lean more towards their client side rather than the developer side. I'm talking off plan. We've just got this belief that has come into us that this is my client. I'm talking off plan. This is my client. And that belief has never been questioned or evaluated. So over time, that becomes a firm thing that I'm there on behalf of my client. Who's paying you in the off-plan transaction? Why wouldn't you take care of them? If it's secondary, I can get it. The buyer is paying you. Yes, look after him. You have to look after your buyer even in off-plan. I'm not taking him to crap just because I get 7% or 8% commission. But you must understand that the buyer, the developer is paying you. So you don't just throw away discounts and negotiate and put pressure on. When you are there with the client, you need to help the client understand why this community or this project is selling really well at this price. People have seen the value. They're not going to give up on this just because of 50 dirhams a square foot or 100 dirhams a square foot. So that change in thinking, I think, has to happen. Because we are more on the client side, but we are not on the developer side. Many of these clients also, remember, are one-time buyers. True? Not everyone buys again, right? But that developer, when you keep going back to them with multiple people, give you better inventory. They give you early advance notice. They help you in your marketing campaigns with a certain percentage of budgets. And you are more assured of getting inventory because you've been bringing people regularly to me. So take care of the developers, guys, please. It is in your interest. But you'll spend all that time with that one fellow who's asking you for his kickbacks and who's talking to 5 brokers, and you make your loyalty to him, not the developer. It does not make business sense to me. Take care of the person who's paying you. Okay? Yeah, what was your question? You forgot. Okay, so the next time someone raises their hand, instead of saying, I'll come back to you, we'll just take the question. Okay? If it comes back again, just raise your hand. Okay, so the previous technique was what? 1, 2, and 3, and then end with a question or a statement. In this, you give 3, 2 are absolutely strong USPs, and then the cheapest price. Tag it with that. So clearly, it will the price, the cheap price cannot give you those 2. That's all you got to do here. Okay? So it's like a quality performance price is an example here. Okay? What do we have next? Price versus cost. Okay, this is a nice one because it confuses people. Okay? Client is sitting in front of you and the client says, listen, I love the community, but I think these prices are really high. Oh, are you joking? That kind of price? 2.3 million. Are you crazy for this? So I would turn around and say, again, any neutralizer, just use any neutralizer. I agree, you should get value. It's important that you can see why this works for you. Any neutralizer. Then you'll say, if you don't mind me asking, what's really important for you? Is it the price or the cost? They can't answer this question. What's the difference between the price and the cost? Cost?
Cost is the expense on the product. Price is the with profit. Expense with profit.
No, not really. Okay. No, that is in every purchase that you have, there will be a certain cost on it. The registration fees, the admin fees, that's all there. This is something else. In the past? No. These are both relevant to the client. It's about the client. The price is what you pay now. It's a one-time commitment. The cost is what you pay over the lifetime of the project. What is this cost? Okay? Today I buy in a community. I'm attracted by a low price point or a very easy 1% payment plan. So I go and put my 700 to get a 1-bedroom apartment. But when you pay that low, you have to accept that there will be some compromise on quality, actual location of the community, the type of services that they will provide later on. They will tell you that there is external facade cleaning 4 times a year. Once a quarter, they'll do it twice a year. If something goes off, a light is not working, it will take them 3 days to come and replace it. If there's a leak or the AC stops working, they'll come in 3 days, 4 days. Why? Because even the Companies that will be hired to do the facility management or servicing there will be paid low money because we did not earn money from this project. So you will get cheap quality contractors with a very bad conversion time on the services. So that is the cost you will pay. So what happens now when your building doesn't have the best quality? Cracks start to show. Community is not well kept. It looks dirty. You can get smells. It's taking a long time for maintenance to happen. What do you think will happen to the rent? It drops. One, rent drops. Secondly, if a tenant does move out, it is much harder for you to find another tenant. And a good broker can negotiate with you saying, listen, people do not want to come to this community. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I can get you someone, but that will mean I need to do a little bit more aggressive marketing. I'm going to be hosting campaigns, things like that. I need 3%. I need 2.5. Now, either you can keep your unit empty for the next 3 months or help me and I will get it for you. So that is what we call the cost. So sometimes to save 100,000 dirhams up front, they will lose 500,000 over the next 5 to 8 years. That is the real cost. Because that what they lose, you have to add that to the payment price, right? That's my cost. If I'm going to lose a potential, say 300,000 in the next 5 years or 8 years, let's say, my cost for that apartment was the 700,000 plus the 300 which I know I'm going to lose. It's 1 million. So which one works better for you now? The 800,000 entry point or the 700? You get the concept here, what we're talking about? And people will get it when you explain to them, but it confuses them, all right? So this is how you use price versus cost. So any neutralizer, it's important you get any neutralizer, it doesn't matter. Then, if I may ask, what's more important? Is it the price or the cost? They will usually ask you, what do you mean? Okay, and then you will have to simply explain to them, price is a one-time event, and then cost is the price over the lifetime of the event. Now, what you can do is you can even add to this and tell the client, Ahmed, what makes this even more attractive is you're not putting that money now. You have to put just 10% today or 15% today, locked in on a payment plan which will not increase even if appreciation goes up and the price of the other units in this building is higher. So you're locked into that price, but you have saved losing money in the future. So you can bring that in as well into the plan here, okay? Emaar, do you know why Emaar sells so well? Apart from the fact that they are government, the perception in the mind of people is government, you'll be here, you will not run away, you will deliver. But we have seen delays even in the Emaars and the Nakils and all the government companies. We have seen certain quality issues also. It's there, like with every other developer. But one of the strongest selling points of Emaar, any of you are selling Emaar here? Okay, here's something you can use. I know a lot of brokers don't like to sell Emaar because commission is a smaller amount, yeah? But the effort is lesser.
Yeah.
So Emaar is saying, my friend, this is Emaar. The name itself will help you bring a guy into my office. But if you had to sell an Azizi maybe, you'll have to put a lot more effort. That is why they're paying you more. Okay, so it's simple as that. Anyway, so Emaar, one of the reasons why people buy into that community, whether they're investors or homeowners, is the community management service. The community management service is the best in Emaar in this region, not just Dubai. Try it. Next time you go to the downtown, where I've actually done this with my clients. I've said, you know what? Let me ask you to do something. And I told my clients, just humor me. You know me so much now, just humor me with this one. I'll take you to the sales center, which is in downtown. But before that, we're going to walk up to the fountain. So I'd like to request you to wear a white shirt. So they go like, why white shirt, okay? I said, just humor me with this one, right? I take them there. We go to the steel railing. And around the fountain, there's a steel railing. And I tell them, would you like to put your hands on the railing? And I put my hands as well in a white shirt. And then I say, I would like you to look at your sleeves now. That shows people how much attention Emaar pays to community management. Now, why do they do this? because there's a lot of sand in the air. There's dust here by the natural environment. But Emaar knows that when families come to Dubai Mall just before the show, kids all run up. Some of the kids are just this high. They're putting their mouth on this railing. And they know it is really important to keep these railings clean. That is why the number of times they're attacking the railings during the day to make sure it is clean. That is the intent, the thinking behind how they provide community management services. And by demonstration is the most powerful way to get people to believe. Go to Arabian ranches today. The community is, I don't know what, 20 years old. But you drive through Arabian ranches today, it will look better than many communities that are 6 to 8 years old in the market. Why? Because of the community management services. That matters to a family that's going to live there, but it also matters to an investor, because when you have this kind of a community, capital appreciation is good, rental demand will be there, people will be happy, the tendency of them to move out will be less. So it affects everyone. Okay? So that is also an example of how you can show cost. Fine. Okay. Price leveling technique, obvious demand, obvious demand. Okay. Now the obvious demand is a very simple technique. Yeah, it's very simple. Client sits in front and says, "Wallah, too much." I said, if the prices are really so high, how come so many people are buying so many units? It's just a simple logic here. Okay? You just have to, they're not thinking that way. So what you're doing with the technique is causing them to think that way. Because like you are sitting here and evaluating, the other clients are also evaluating. And if the prices would really so high, how come so many people are buying so much every day from us? That's what you're putting on, because you can never turn around and tell me you as an investor are sharper and can figure out market positioning on price, but if 400 other millionaires just bought in that tower, you can never be sharper than all 400. There's no way. So there are a couple of ways you can do it. You can go with specific numbers if you know it, depending on which developer you're working with, or you can go even a generic, vague thing, okay? So here's a couple of examples, okay? That's an interesting observation, right? If we were really priced so high, why would over 95,000 millionaires and homeowners buy their homes from us? This was an Emaar example that we used to use before. So it's one guy versus 95,000. Which one will make more sense? 95,000. As simple as that, okay? You can use it generic, because a lot of people give generic objections about Dubai. Now, Dubai prices are very expensive. Prices have gone high. So I would simply say, well, I'm glad you brought that up. If what you're saying is true, help me understand why just last year, 133,000 millionaires invested 412 billion dirhams in the market. Why would they do that if the prices are really so high? This is why numbers will work for you, okay? Another way of doing it, going a little bit vague again, that's an interesting observation. It doesn't have to change the statement. If we were really priced so high, why would so many people buy so much of property from us in 11 countries for the past 20 years? That's because they had projects in 11 countries. Yeah. Or what you could do is use a different number. If what you're saying is true, help me understand, why would so many people from over 160 countries buy so much of property from us in Dubai? It's, the name will tell you, the demand is obvious. Okay, why is a building selling out? It's obvious, there is a demand for it, true? That's right, so it's as simple as that. But they don't think about that, just put it in their head. Okay? There's no way they can challenge that. You guys can actually take photographs also if you want, you know. But you're writing, fine, go ahead and write. Yes, you remember the question or this one? Go ahead, tell me. As a little PDF? Okay. I don't mind sending it you as a PDF to you. My only concern is when you put numbers in there, in the PDF, they'll keep changing. And I know sales guys. Sorry, but I know sales guys. 4 years from now, these PDFs will be with all your friends. And everybody will be talking about 95,000 when EMR would be at 180,000. This is my only concern when you have numbers in there. Take a photo. Take a photo if you want. You have today very easy. You can actually remove the text from photos. Just make a little Word document and you can, usually trainers don't allow it, but I don't care. You can do it. You can take. You can take, no problem. Okay. The one difference, yeah, just put in the group with everybody. The one difference is this. A technique, when you see it written or when you see it on an image, doesn't give you the psychology behind it. Why is it being said like that? Why it makes a difference? That will only come from the engagement here. All right? Because you got to understand, if you teach somebody something, but if they don't believe in it, there's no way they're going to use it. So what will make them believe in it? That the technique actually works. Okay? That's why it's very important. Okay? So those who are writing, I'll still wait for you because you're the type who likes the hand-brain connection. Yeah? Yeah, you can share the words. You can do whatever you want. Okay, so there's a guy going to do your work for you. Okay, now we'll do one more technique. Take a short break, come back and continue. Okay? Now this one is called the price leveling technique. Yeah, this is perfect. This works really well. Now you will find when people tell you the price is high, how do they do that? How do they decide that? By comparison, right? They will only look at another tower close to you or another community similar to yours, and that's what they will do. If they are going to compare your community with something else, a beachfront community and a downtown, does not make sense. You can kill that immediately. But what they will normally do is they will compare a building next to yours. But there is a tower just like, or Muda and Damak Hills used to have this major issue before. People would go to Muda, then they would come to Damak Hills, and then they would say your price is high. It's 13% higher than Muda. So they're doing it by comparison. The first thing you need to understand, okay, it's the wrong thing to do a comparison just because both are in the same location. Parking the BMW next to the Bentley does not make it a Bentley. They're both next to each other. Two parking lots. You can go to Dubai Mall. They're both next to each other. But that will not justify that the price has to be the same. In fact, it's a great one to use with clients. You know, the other day I was talking with the other day I was talking with a client and we were discussing price and it amazed me. The client actually told me, you're right. Parking the BMW next to the Bentley doesn't make it a Bentley. It'll go into the client's head. It's not like you are challenging him. Yeah? A little bit of bullshitting we always do, right? All of us in sales. Yeah. But the key emphasis was a little bit. Okay? What you never bullshit is facts. Facts never bullshit because facts can be found by people with searching. So you never bullshit that. Okay. So parking, this is the concept here. Parking the BMW next to the Bentley does not make it a Bentley. So how do you do it with the client? I'll give you the actual example. Chinese buyer looked at Mudon and then came to Damak Hills. He was looking at Silver Springs, the community, right? He said, they also have a 4-bedroom villa, standalone, like yours, but your prices are higher. Now, what is he actually telling you? That your product is the same like Mudon, but your price is higher. This is what he's doing. Now, as a salesperson, if you try to justify why your price is like that, it is a pitch. You're a sales guy, and I don't trust salespeople. True? How many of you trust salespeople? No one, right? So a guy I don't trust is telling me why the community is better because he wants to make money. Why would I listen to you? So what you do, you reverse the game here. So client has told you, well, they have 4 bedrooms. Their community is right next to you. My kids can come to the clubhouse. They can go to your school there, the Jebel Ali school. There's nothing that really separates you from them, but your prices are too high. Now, change the game. Say, all right, let's just say the prices were the same. Which one would you take? He has to tell you this one, right? When he tells you, I'll take Silver Springs, you say, well, that's interesting. May I ask why? Now he will separate it. And when he separates it, his foot is in his mouth because he gets stuck. That's when you'll turn around and say, exactly. Now that you have seen why the two are different, shouldn't the prices be different as well? How would you like to go ahead? Because you see, the same answers that he gives you, you can give. But you're a sales guy. He cannot challenge his answers. So his approach, the two products are the same, your price is high. Your counter, let's make the prices the same. Which one would you take? He has to tell you yours. That's why he's sitting there, right? Then you ask him, well, that's interesting. May I ask why? End of it. Sorry?
What if you say that
It's very simple. I would say, well, that's interesting. Can I ask why you just spent a couple of hours with me here? If you already know that that community is better, can I ask why you decided to come and spend 2 hours with us? They will never say it. If they're trying to be difficult here, just throw it back at them.
this is the ugly?
Ugly, bad, whatever, bad, ugly. But be straight. So how come you're here? You already know that that community is better, right? Because I'm not pitching Muda. You already know that's better. What are you doing here? It's as simple as that, right? I met a broker, M&A Properties. We are interviewing this guy as a broker, Turkish guy. He's sitting with us and he's saying, I'm okay with everything that the company is giving me as 50-50 on the leads, but my personal leads, I want 90. Okay. I said, you know what? I'm giving you 1 minute to change how you think about this, otherwise there's the door. No, I'm okay if you reduce on the commission on the company lead. You give me only 30%, you take 70%, but on my lead, I want 90. I said, I'm sorry, there is the door. Because you've just destroyed it even more. If I'm going to tell you, I will give you only 30% on a company lead, and you're going to spend your time on a lead which will give you 90% or 70%? 90%. So you're going to lose both ways, which means you're not going to pay attention to my leads, which means I'm going to lose my leads. But at the same time, with what you are going to be focusing on, and I don't believe you got that many out there. How much will we make as a company? 10%, we lose both ways. So he said after that, he said, but there are companies that are offering me 80%. I said, take it. Take it. If there is a company that's giving you 80%, take it. I know he's not going anywhere. You think this clown has the ability to bring up so many of his own leads? Why would you come? If there is a company that's giving you an 80% and you're so confident you can raise leads, take it. We rejected it, but he stayed for the interview, but we rejected. The thinking is just wrong. There's no way I want this guy in my company. But he didn't leave when we said, you should take it. Okay, same thing, that's what you do here, okay? So price leveling, when they compare you, simply say, Ahmed, let's just suppose both villas have the same price. Which one would you go for? Which one would you take, right? He obviously is going to tell you yours. Then I'll turn around and say, well, that's interesting. May I ask why this villa? Or why this community? He will separate it, okay? After he separates it, then you will say, well, if that is true, then why should the prices be the same? Now that you have seen the difference between the two, wouldn't you agree that the prices should also be different? How would you like to go ahead? Okay? That's the approach. It's a very cool one to use because nobody expects this to come back at them. Yeah, they get very smart. They'll start telling you why I'm selecting your villa, but they put their foot in their own mouth. Just practice it a few times. You guys should role play among yourselves. Have the confidence. Because see, when you are sitting in front of a client, you cannot refer to your phone or your notes. It has to be in here. Yeah. So that's why you need to really understand the technique, role play a few times among yourselves. You will become rock stars after that. The instant reverse. So client tells you, price is too much. Voila, it's too expensive. I'll say, Ahmed, that's exactly why you buy from them. Just turn it around. So what do you mean? Okay, because they get confused, right? They're so confident when they tell you the price is too high, or the payment plan is very aggressive, or the down payment is too tough in this case. That's exactly why you buy from them. You get confused. They will tell you, what do you mean? Okay? Then you will have to turn around and justify. Okay? So here's what you do. Your price is too high, whatever statement, that's exactly why you should buy right now. Now, this right now is important when people tell you, I missed the boat. Prices have gone up a lot, so now is not a good time. So that's exactly why you should buy right now. Okay, that's where you'll use it. Otherwise, if the client is just in general saying the price is too high, I'll simply say, Ahmed, that's exactly why you should buy. What's the only thing they will tell you to this? What do you mean? Excuse me? Sorry? Because they don't know what to say. They don't expect it, right? So the client usually will come with, what do you mean? Right? Then what you will do is give your reply. You will use multiple techniques in this, okay? I'll read the answer, then I'll tell you what we're doing here. Say, did you know that a few of our clients felt the same at first, but they now recognize pattern of 3 will come here, okay? Higher ROI, premium lifestyle, and the social recognition they've got over the years. How'd you like to move this forward? Now, there are a few things that you're doing in the answer. The first is shock. Instant reverse is always shock. When you're calling clients, well, I'm not interested, right? Ahmed, that's exactly why I'm calling you. What do you mean? They'll keep talking with you, right? So that's the first thing. Then, did you know any statement of fact that you want to give to a client, put did you know before it? Because we are programmed from when we are kids that interesting facts always had did you know before it. Okay? Did you know that the sun does not rise for 2.5 months in, there is actually a town, Barrow, it's called Barrow, okay? Right at the top near Alaska. The sun actually doesn't rise for 2.5 months. But what happens when you say, did you know that this, people don't question. They say, really? I didn't know that. Because we are conditioned from when we are kids that these fun facts, exciting things were always with a did you know. So what you're doing in the answer is when you say, did you know, you're moving him into acceptance mode for what will come next. Then we are using a similar concept to feel, felt, found, right? I know how you feel. Some of our clients initially felt the same. Here's what they found, or they now, so that's what we're doing here. Then you're also using the pattern of 3, which cannot be challenged. And you're ending with a question, so they cannot object to those 3. So there's just too much going on right now in this for a person to challenge it. Okay? Instant reverse is very powerful. You will use it a lot of, well, I'm not interested in buying right now. Well, that's exactly why I'm calling you. What do you mean? Guaranteed, that's what you'll hear. What do you mean? Out of every 10 guys, 9 will say, what do you mean? 1 will hang up on you. Okay, but that's okay. If 9 of the people who said, I'm not interested, are still in the call with you, you've achieved something, right? Then right after that, when they say, what do you know? Say, did you know? And come with an exciting fact. Or did you know that most of the investors I'm currently working with actually said that they were not interested. When they saw the value of what we were giving, which is 1, 2, and 3, they all came to the table. Does that make sense? So I'm still in the call. That's what happens. Whenever people say, did you know, whenever people say, I'm not interested, they will, a guy who is genuinely not interested, he will do one of 2 things. The moment you're speaking and he figures out you're a sales guy, he will bang the phone down. Because they don't care about being polite with you, right? That's the first thing, one reaction. Second reaction could be, listen, I'm not interested, and they disconnect. They are not giving you the opportunity to speak. Don't take it personally. Maybe he's just in a bad mood right now. His girlfriend told him, get lost, I found a better looking guy. Whatever, I don't know where he's sitting in his head. Give him a few days, he'll be in a different space. Maybe he found a new girlfriend. Okay, so he's feeling very happy. Call him now, he'll talk to you. So just give yourself the opportunity. So this is what you do if a person is disconnected. But if the person says, listen, I'm not interested, but they're still on the phone, they're giving you a moment. It's called a linger. They're giving you the opportunity to get in because they're not disconnected, right? Well, I'm not interested, but they're on the phone. That's when they'll come and say, Ahmed, that's exactly why but you have to match his tone. If they come and listen, I'm not interested. I said, Ahmed, that's exactly why I called you. Well, I'm not interested. Ahmed, that's exactly why I'm calling you. Mirror and match. This is what you got to do, okay? Okay, what else do we have on pricing? Okay, performance versus price. I want to ask you this question. What do you think? Should the performance of a product dictate its price? What do you think? Anybody wants to say no? You can walk into a Paris gallery. You will find a Rolex at 95,000 in one cabinet. Just walk a few feet away. There is the Casio G-Shock at 1,800 dirham. And if you look at time-wise, the Casio will probably be more accurate than the Rolex. But nobody buys a Rolex to read time. No one buys a Rolex because it will tell me the time. I can do it on my phone today. The reason they buy it is when they walk into a room, everybody notices the watch. Once they notice the watch, they've changed their perception about the person who's wearing the watch. For that perception is what I'm putting the money on the table. So the watch changes and shapes how the person thinks about you. Performance will always dictate the price. That's why a Lamborghini is priced at 1.7 million or 1.8 million without a single ad in any magazine, movie, billboard on the planet. And people are ready to put that money on the table. When the recession hit 2008, 2009 was very hard for the car industry. Before 2009, all the car companies were typically giving you 60,000 kilometers. No, so they were giving you, they were giving you 45,000 kilometers or 3-year warranty, whichever one finished earlier, because they calculate average at 15 a year. The moment the recession hit, all these car companies were giving you 60,000, in some cases even 100,000 kilometers and a 5-year warranty. Why? Because the car could not sell when people were afraid to put money. They gave discounts. They started offering registration, insurance, all got thrown in, and that became the future model. But in that market, the Lamborghinis, the Bugattis, and the Ferraris stayed where they were in the price because they operate outside market dynamics. That is the difference. So the performance dictates the price. Okay? So when you sit with an investor, client says the price is too high. I'll simply make this statement. Okay? I'll simply say, Ahmed, I agree. You should get value. That's your neutralizer. Then you'll say, I'm sure. Okay? I'm sure you'll agree that performance should determine the price. True? Only a donkey will say no. It doesn't make sense. People who got brains in their head will tell you that performance dictates price. That is why the first class on the plane costs 7 times what you'll pay in the economy. It's the performance that's dictating the price. So they will have to say yes to this. Then all you need to do is to show them that the square foot price is determined by many things, not just location. People compare by location. That's what they'll do. You are in this community, there's a community right next to you giving you this. But just the location does not determine price. The location is one factor. The quality or the size of the unit, the view of the unit, the access to services within the community, the brand value associations, what kind of rental yields you will get, capital appreciation. All these together is the performance of the product. And the pricing is determined by the same thing. Take within one building itself. When the client says you are more expensive compared to this building, if you look at this building, you can have the 1-bedroom units on the 4th floor priced differently from the ones on the 25th floor. True? So within the same building, you can have 2 similar units priced differently because the unit performs better on view on the 25th floor. So it's the performance that dictates the price. Okay? So this is something which you can use. Performance versus price, but explain that pricing is determined by multiple things. One of the things I don't get, maybe you all can explain it to me. Brokers will always ask, what's the PSF? Whenever a new product is being launched, what's the PSF? Why do you all ask that question? Why? Client is asking. Okay, so if you are asking because the client is asking, but you don't even know why the client wants it, what's the point in asking? Because you don't understand the reason. So I'm trying to figure this out because I've got a comeback on this. Why do you ask what's the PSF? Other than it being information, it is no value to the sale. The PSF is 1400, the other one is 2200, but that doesn't tell you anything. Every time I get a broker who asks me, what's the PSF? I ask a simple question. What do you plan to do with that? Zero answer. So if you don't plan to do anything with it, or why is that important? They can only tell you by comparison, right? Because the guy next to you is 200 lesser. Parking the BMW next to the Bentley doesn't make it a Bentley. So I got to look at the quality of the unit. Who is the developer? You can have a DAMAC and you can have next to that an unknown developer coming up. You want both to be the same? So there is a legacy, there is a performance, there is the quality of the services, there is the rental yields, there is the, I don't know, the ability of that particular property to appreciate much higher. There's just so many things going on. So PSF doesn't make sense unless you can justify through the performance of the product. That's the reason why nobody walks into Lamborghini and says, how much is the car? Okay, so when people are going to ask you about the price, one approach, I'm giving you different approaches. All these are different techniques for price. Whichever one you're comfortable with, you can just use it. Okay, performance is a strong one to use. 8.8 million starting price yesterday, Mercedes-Benz. 8.8 million, right? In the downtown area, it's coming next to Distinction, right? The building in that plot, 8.8 million, 2-bedroom. You think people are going to say it's expensive? Who will say that? Somebody who doesn't understand the legacy of Mercedes, the 137 years. Someone who doesn't understand that Mercedes doesn't design based on today, they design based on the future. Now the future is always expensive compared to the present. But they give you tomorrow, today. The others will give it to you in their cars tomorrow. I'll give it to you today. That's the Mercedes-Benz. That is their whole philosophy. So do you want to live in today and be like the other 200 manufacturers, or do you want to live in tomorrow but today? That is how they sell their cars. Okay? So again, you cannot just by comparison, it will just not make any sense. You know, yesterday it was so funny. Anyone was there at the event yesterday? I was there, okay? And I was just, this is the problem with being a psychologist. You know, you get excited by watching the people around you and how they react. When they announced this building and they played a video on the concept and the design and the building came up, people clapped. And when they drove in the car, Bengati came in the car, people stood up and went crazy. The car caught the attention, not the building. Because Mercedes is who they are. That's the important thing. So the performance, because a Bengati performance is not that exciting. Truthfully, let's be honest, right? What are their buildings? Orange, yellow, white building, silicon oasis, JVC. It's not a high-performing building, right? Or a developer. When they launched Jacob and Company, everybody was confused. The whole market was confused. They were wondering how the hell did Jacob and Company go and partner with them, right? That happened. But then Bugatti came in again. And now people started taking notice because Bengati's way of thinking has elevated. The son. Okay, the son is thinking different. Okay, enough of playing around in the small areas. We now need to go big. So he went with Bugatti. Then he went with Mercedes. If you see the quality of the brands, they're also scaling up. There is no way anyone can question a Mercedes-Benz. So suddenly today in the market, people's perception of Bengati is changing. You know which developer used to have the best launches in Dubai? DAMAC, always. The DAMAC launches were the most spectacular. The locations were of the same kind. Today, people are talking of Bengati launches are better than DAMAC. It's crazy how the perception has changed. So performance is starting to get noticed. And this is going to help Bengati put the price high. 8.8 million for a 2-bedroom. All 2 bedrooms are already gone, by the way, in that tower. It's already gone yesterday. So you see what's happened? A car drove up, they showed the iconic design and the brand of Mercedes. The same evening, all the 2 bedrooms are gone in the building. Okay? Okay, now some other objections that will come. You get payment plan? Now, not the 1% plans, okay? But generally with the EMARs, some projects with DAMAC, with the Miras, with the Aldars, their payment plans are aggressive. Now again, people will complain about a payment plan from 2 perspectives. One, they feel it's a lot, 20% down payment, and you're paying sometimes 60 to 70% before handover and 30% upon handover. When you're having people going the other way, 10% now, 90% post handover, 80 or 20% now, 80% post handover, or 1% plans are there. So when people see easy, soft plans in the market, by default, they tell you your plan is tough. because there's an easier plan. So you naturally look and say, well, too much. Okay, so how would you answer this? By showing that a payment plan is actually a USP. It's an advantage. Did you know that developers can actually control completion timelines, quality of the product, and even the lifestyle of the neighbors in the building or the community through a payment plan? Did you know that? You see why no one questioned it? Because I used a did you know. You will accept. Now it's a fact, okay? You can actually control the quality of the lifestyle in a tower by the payment plan. Okay? Now, why is a payment plan important? Because when a payment plan is tough, it's a very strong entry. The developer is actually pre-qualifying that you have the ability to continue with the next installments, which would be the 10% and the 5%. So when I ask you for 20 plus 4 upfront, and you have the ability to give 20 plus 4, it is one way of qualifying that you will be able to pay the 10% after 6 months, which is 1.5% a month. So I am pre-qualifying to make sure. And why is this important? Because my escrow has to be liquid. The only way I can complete my project is if there's cash in the escrow. Now, because by law, I can only pay out all my contractors and subcontractors through the escrow. I can have 200 billion outside the escrow, but I cannot use that for the payments to the contractors, but it has to be monitored through the escrow. So that is the reason why, for me, I need to pre-qualify the people who are buying. Because how is the escrow funded? 3 ways. Okay. The first way is escrow is funded by a 20% initial investment by the developer in the escrow before they get permission to sell a unit. So 20% will be put into the escrow by the developer. So because I'm putting 20%, I can take from you 20% as well. I cannot take from you more than what I have committed. I can take less. I have the choice. As a marketing gimmick, if I want to do it, I have to put the 20% by law. I can tell you 10% entry. That is okay. I can't tell you 30. I can only tell you 30. If you're not buying at launch, you're coming 1 year later into the project. By that time, people have paid an additional 10% or 20%. That's when I can tell you 30% entry, but not at the entry. Okay. So I get the 20% from you at entry. Now my escrow will only be funded by the installments. I can't put any extra money in it. So I've got contractors and subcontractors, plumbing, foundation, MEP, mechanical engineering, plumbing, architecture, all of that. I have to pay all of them, landscaping, at different stages in the construction process. So I need cash to be consistently coming into the escrow so I can actually meet those commitments. So when a developer announces a payment plan, while they will not tell you linked to construction, it is linked to construction. It's just that people don't understand the concept. 20% now upon booking, 10% when the first podium 5 is reached, another 10% when level 10 is reached. People don't understand this. When will level 10 be reached? So they will give it to you based on a timeline. 1% every month, or next installment, June of this year, then December. They'll give you a timeline, but that is linked to the construction and the payouts that have to happen. It's always like that in off-plan. So if I want my escrow to be solid, I will prefer a stronger initial investment. Or the developer has to be so cash rich, they can put more than 20% initially. There is no restriction on that. Minimum is 20. They can put 50% if they want. Look at SLS, the hotel towers. SLS was completely funded through a bank loan of 800 million, and they sold only after the project was ready because the money was there. So either I put in the cash myself, get a bank guarantee, any of those sort of things, or there's another option for a developer. You don't want to put the money? No problem. You don't get permission to sell. Start your construction. Once you have constructed up to 20%, which means you have incurred the cost, you can ask people to buy by paying 20%. So the escrow operates on these 3 formulas. Okay? Either you put 20% and then take it from buyers, or you fully fund it through a mortgage, or you start the construction, and if you want to take a 10% down payment, once 10% is complete, you can ask. These are the three models. From a business perspective, the one that makes sense is first the 20%, because I don't want to fund the project full myself. I'll fund it and get others to fund it. It's always a joint production. All of plan is joint production, which is another reason why when clients don't want to make installments, you can actually explain to the client, what is the role of Azizi, Imar, Damak, Miras? They are developers, but I am developing your home. So you are funding it and I am making it. That is how the concept works. Go away from the real estate as an industry. When you are making a home, your own personal home, how do you do it? The contractor works based on how you pay. So you pay, work happens, you pay, work happens. It's the same concept on a commercial scale. I'm the developer. I don't have to put 400 million. So you need to understand, Mr. Investor, if you are not continuing to pay, not just you, other investors, if they're not paying their installments, the project will delay. Because even if I have 200 million outside, I'm not going to put all of it in the start. It doesn't make sense. It's not a good business approach. So I will put the 20%. I will qualify through the entry that these people who are buying have the ability to do it. So my escrow is going to be funded. But you need to understand, Mr. Investor, if you do not pay, if the other investors default on their payments, I cannot pay the contractor. So the building will slow down. That's what happens. Okay? They have to understand this concept. Now, so why did we create this kind of an escrow plan? This came out of the Singapore market. It worked brilliantly. Look at Singapore today. If I don't do this, if I allow the developer to bring funds later in the project, then it means the developer will launch any crappy project, because I'm not dependent on heavy sales to fund the escrow. So because after some time, if I'm not selling units, okay, I'll put another 200 million in the escrow. I can do that. But that means we will not be putting out product that is attractive enough. So to prevent that, escrow, the Singapore model says no. You will put an initial entry. You choose how much you want. But after that, you will not put anything else into it. So now this makes the developer create an attractive opportunity, because if it doesn't sell, he knows he cannot complete. And so first, so I need the money. So what I'll do, I make a creative project. Second, I create a plan that will pre-qualify the people who will come into the project. So I can be sure that the project will complete. Thirdly, if I can even control the quality of the person coming in. So let's take an example, okay? You have a 1% payment plan. Let's see what happens to the project. Let's take a simple example. It's a 1 million project. Now, I have developer 1 who insists on 20%. I have developer 2 who will say 5% now, 5% after 3 months, 1%, 1%. Every 5-6 months they'll tell you 100,000 or something like that, or 5% more. Okay, so now let's look at what happens. I have a 20% which I'm going to take, and in this case they have to put 200K. Okay, that's the entry point. This guy comes in at a 5%. Some people even came at a 1% before they stop that now. Now they go at minimum will be 5, or they'll even go 10. So if I come at 5%, that's 50K. Now he will tell you after 3 months, another 10%. Okay, so that's another 100K. So he's taking around 300K in 3 months, or maybe even 6 months, right? Now let's say 6 months. Okay. So in 6 months, I've got 300K. That's what's come. I've basically collected 30%. This guy jumps into 1% from here onwards. So what happens in 6 months? Every month, I'm going to get 1%, which is 5K. The person who puts 5,000 on the table lives a very different lifestyle compared to someone who has to put 100,000 on the table. So you can actually ensure only people who have a certain lifestyle come into communities, because perception of quality within a community is also created by the type of people who live there. Emirates Hills, the perception is the type of people who live there who can afford that. A Palm Jumeirah. So you'll have these premium Jumeirah Islands. All of these will have a perception. Okay. So that is what I'm doing. But the challenge I have here, the probability of defaulting is higher with the 1% guys than the 10% guys and the 20% guys. Because when it's 1%, only 5,000 a month, everybody thinks they can get in. These are the guys who have jobs. They are the ones who lose jobs. They're not paying their credit cards on time. So your risk factor is much, much higher on the 1% plan. Danube mastered it. Nashama also tried it. Danube, he's called the 1% man, yeah, Rizwan. But why? Think of where he went with his plan. He went to the affordable category. That is why Danube ads are on bus stops. Correct? Ever seen an Emaar ad on a bus stop? Danube will go there. They put small, tiny little billboards. Now they are scaling up. They're going to this big waterfront and all. They're going bigger. But otherwise, they are the bus stop ads, because people were paying 2,500 dirhams every month to own their little studio going forward. So those guys who pay 2,500, they don't travel in the Lamborghinis or the Bentleys or the BMWs. Where are they? Bus stops, metro stations. So you put your ad there because your customer is there. But again, smart strategy. It's nothing wrong. But he was smart. He knew, this is my guy, so I'll do that. If I'm taking 1% a month, I cannot put big billboards on Sheikh Zayed Road. The cost of marketing for that project will make me lose money. When I go to Maritime City and put an Oceans, yes, I'll go. When I go to 101 in Business Bay, because different entry point, then I will go on Sheikh Zayed Road. So it's all linked to the actual product that you're doing, all right? So that's why the payment plan is important. So when people tell you that the payment plan is too aggressive, Ahmed, that's exactly why you should invest in this project. What do you mean? Then you can tell them, did you know that developers actually control quality, completion timelines, and lifestyle conscious neighbors through the payment plan? By giving such an aggressive plan, Ahmed, we are actually protecting you. What do you mean? It's to ensure that only people like you who have the ability will come into this project. That's what completes the project. So turn the payment plan into a benefit, a USP. Okay? You got the concept? Yeah, that's what we do here. Okay. So now, another way, okay, you can use instant reverse. That's exactly why you should be buying from them. This is more of a generic neutralizer. Payment plans are important for both of us. Every time money is involved, a very good neutralizer is both of us. Okay, the prices are too high. Prices are important for both of us. The service charges are a little bit stiff. Service charges are important, Ahmed, for both of us. So whenever money is involved, you can always bring yourself into the picture as well. Okay, so that's what we're doing here. Did you know that we ensure the quality, performance, security, all of this through the payment plan? They don't know this. And by the way, most brokers also don't know this. Most sales guys in the developer's office don't understand this concept. But this is the reality. For the project to complete on time or with minimum delay, it is crucial that the ongoing payments should be coming in, because I protect the quality, lifestyle, all of this through the plan. So Mr. Investor, when we create the plan, we have you in mind to make sure that you will get what we have promised you. Okay? But it's a fact. That is exactly why they do it. Now, let's go back to the 1% payment plan. These are just things for you to understand. The 1% payment plan from last year has evolved in the Dubai market a lot. Before that, it was mainly the Nashama, the Danubes who were doing the 1%. That's because Danube was not offering a luxury segment. They were offering the mid, affordable. So to make it easy for those guys, they had to go the 1% route. Again, why? If many of them had to look for mortgages in case the buildings are closer to completion, these type of people, their credit scores are not that great. They got credit cards, they may have a personal loan, they may have car loans. So the payout that the bank can give is not very high. So for these people, to avoid them having to go for a mortgage, because with a mortgage, firstly, you give all the documents, then it's finger crossed. You don't know whether you'll get it. So what Danube did is they took that. So it was a very good move for that category, right? Danube said, hey, listen, instead of going there, putting all those documents and not knowing whether you will get it, because your credit scores may not be that good, your salaries may not allow it, because it's always a percentage payout, right? Since you don't have that, come to us directly. No need of all those documents, no need of the approval. Come to us 1% a month. That allowed more people to actually make the decision. But it carries certain risk with it, okay? So what would happen in such a case? Danube would probably be putting more than 20% into the escrow. That's one way of looking at it. Or the second way would be, because the volume of buyers is more that I can talk to in the mid category, I'm sure that I will be able to attract enough buyers so my escrow keeps getting funded. There's only an administrative challenge with this. The administrative challenge is the collections team and the CRM teams, okay? If I am in this type of a plan where I have to take 10% every 6 months, and let's say you got 400 units in the building, in both cases, okay? I have to make around 400 calls in 6 months to follow up with some of these guys. That's the number of calls I'm going to make. With these guys, I will be making 400 calls every single month. So in 6 months, I'm making 2,400 calls to collect what? 1% per person. See the monster you will create with a plan like this. Also think logically. Today, developers will tell you iconic lifestyle, okay? Live the lifestyle of kings in the city of dreams. Private pools being given in every single, they will sell you the wow factor about the apartment. If your apartment is really that wow, why are you taking 1% a month? Because the others who are promising you the wow experience are taking 10%. Why are you going 1%? So every time the 1% comes up, you have to be a little bit careful, okay? This was till last year. Why are they? Because they know they cannot attract you through the quality of the product, so they will attract you through the plan. But you are at risk because the highest number of defaults happen through these guys. So while I may make my payments, the possibility of many of those buyers defaulting is very high. That is the problem in the project there, okay? Last year, the model changed. Now, almost everybody, at least in the areas like JVC, JVT, Furjan, Arjan, you go to some of the projects in the Business Bay, back end of those projects are all giving you 1%. Why? Because we have people who've been renting, who now are finding it too expensive, so they are willing to now come and take homes. So they're being given the 1% options because probability of them getting mortgages, anything is very, and that's why they're giving post handover 1%. Even 3 years, 5 years post handover, you're paying 1%. Because these are people who will need to move into a ready property because they cannot afford to rent as well as pay installments. So for these people, these projects will become attractive because it's like for 5 years, 7-year post handover. Aqua Properties has got, yeah, that is a 7-year post handover payment plan. So it's almost like you don't take a mortgage. You will pay a little more, obviously, because I have to wait for 7 years. So I'm adding a markup on the pricing on the 1% plans. But it makes it attractive. And especially when you have the new home buyers now in the market, these guys are going for those type of places to live in. That's why the 1% became very, very attractive right now. Enough? All right, I'll see you guys next week, right? Take care.